The Monticello Railway Museum is located on 992 Iron Horse Place in Monticello, Illinois, and is open weekends. And for the hours, do check the web about it. Also, train operates May to October on public holidays. The first land purchased was about 5 miles of former Illinois terminal right-of-way between Monticello and Whiteheath. This right-of-way had only ballast in place. A former popcorn field was purchased for the yard area. Through the years, track was laid toward Whiteheath until approximately 2.5 miles was completed. A runaround was put in place at the north end, which was Blackers. The museum was founded in 1966 as Spur Inc., which is short for Society for the Perpetuation of Unretired Railfans Inc., and was located in Decatur, Illinois, with the goal of encouraging the Chicago, Burlington, and Quincy Railroad to continue operating its steam-powered railfan excursions. When that failed, the organization began to search for equipment and a suitable location to operate its own steam excursion. In 1969, it was invited to Monticello by the Illinois Pioneer Heritage Center, and the name was changed to Monticello and Sangamon Valley Railway Historical Society. Then, in 1982, the name was shortened to Monticello Railway Museum. In 1988, this portion of track became known as the Terminal Division. Also, the museum runs excursion trains over a former railroad line that was owned by Illinois Terminal and Illinois Central Gulf, and the museum purchased 7.5 miles of Illinois Central Gulf trackage between Monticello and Whiteheath, which parallels the Illinois Terminal right-of-way and runs from Nelson's Crossing to downtown Monticello's historic Wabash Railroad Depot. A crossover track connecting the two lines was installed in 2 weekends, and the first run into Monticello was made. And also, the museum collection has grown a lot over the years, and it has over 100 pieces of railroad equipment, including several restored diesel locomotives and cars and some steam engines as well. Also, it hosts a numerous of events such as Railroad Days, which it happens third weekend of September as well. What you see right behind me is Western Indiana Aggregate 1. Western Indiana Aggregate Company 1 was built by Cook Locomotive and Machine Works in Paterson, New Jersey in 1924, and is the 65477 steam locomotive built by that factory, and is an 040T four-wheeler saddle tank type steam locomotive, and is a D11 class steam locomotive. Originally, this locomotive was built for stock. In 1929, it was sold to James Stone Company in Corsicana, Texas. In 1930, it was sold to Western Indiana Aggregate Company as Western Indiana Aggregate Company 1 in Montezuma, Indiana. Then in 1966 was sold to Otto Klutz in Montezuma, Indiana, and it was retired. Then in October that year, it was sold to the Monticello Railway Museum when it was called the Society for the Perpetuation of Unretired Rail Fans, till it had some name changes till its current name. And also this is the museum's first piece as well. Also, it did operate on the museum tracks starting in 1970, and its saddle tank was removed, and it did use a tender from an Illinois Central steam engine, and the tender numbered X4342. Then it did stop running in 1988, and the saddle tank was remantled on it. And also, like sometime after 2007, the tender it used has gone to Shelbina, Missouri to be used on the steam engine on the Thresher grounds there. Also, this locomotive is no longer on the museum grounds, but it is now in this spot to let you know which way to go to get to the Monticello Railway Museum as well, and displayed right next to the three-way intersection as well.
What you see right behind me is Illinois Central X2000.
Illinois Central X2000 was built by the Illinois Central Railroad in 1941 and is an idler flat car. This car was originally used as a flat car for the Illinois Central Railroad many years ago and would be used on freight trains for many years. Then it was put into maintenance of way service and used as an idler flat car. Then later on, Illinois Central X2000 was retired and then came to be part of the Monticello Railway Museum in Monticello, Illinois, where it is today, and also it is privately owned, and sometimes it is carried on the museum tracks as it would be used on the freight trains that they put together as well, and it is also used as an idler flat car for Illinois Central Pile Driver X238.
What you see right behind me is Illinois Central X9151.
Illinois Central X9151 was built by Oswald F. Jordan in 1929 and is a Jordan spreader. This spreader was used for the Illinois Central Railroad as used to spread or shape ballast when used for service for the Illinois Central maintenance of way as well. Also, it was also used to push snow off the tracks as well, and as it was being used, it would be pushed by a locomotive. Then later on, Illinois Central X9151 was retired and came to be part of the Monticello Railway Museum in Monticello, Illinois, where it is today, and sometimes it is carried on the museum tracks as it would be used on the freight trains that they put together as well.
What you see right behind me is Illinois Central 8733.
Illinois Central 8733 was built by Electromotive Division in LaGrange, Illinois in 1958 and is the 250/38th diesel locomotive built by that factory and is a GP11 type diesel locomotive. This locomotive was originally built as a GP9 type diesel locomotive and originally numbered as Illinois Central 9386, and for many years It was used on the Illinois Central Railroad, and also it was used for carrying freight as well. Then, in 1980, it was rebuilt in the Illinois Central Paducah shops to being a GP11 and renumbered as Illinois Central 8733. Also, for many years, it wore all the major paint schemes of the Illinois Central/Illinois Central Gulf and was originally painted with black with orange, diamond, herald, then repainted with the 1970s with orange and white paint scheme, and originally when it was outshopped as a GP11, it was painted with the Illinois Central Gulf orange and gray, and the locomotive was repainted to how it looks currently as well. Then in 2000, the locomotive was retired and put in storage at the Canadian National Illinois Central Woodcrest facilities. Then in 2001 was donated to the Monticello Railway Museum in Monticello, Illinois, where it can be seen operating sometimes on the museum's tracks as well. Illinois Central 892 was built by Pullman in 1918 and is a combine car. This car was used on the Illinois Central Railroad and was used for passenger service and carried baggage, and one end is where the baggage compartment is, and also was used on passenger trains while being used on the Illinois Central Railroad. Then it was converted to being a brake testing car by American Steel Foundries and renumbered as American Steel Foundries 1948, and was equipped with instrumentation for various tests on railroad hardware manufactured by American Car and Foundry. The floor section over both trucks had glass inserted to allow for viewing during the tests. Then this car was retired and in 1978 was donated to the Monticello Railway Museum in Monticello, Illinois in 1976 by American Car and Foundry, and also went under restoration, and it retained its glass floor during restoration. Then, when restoration was completed, it was looking good as new as how it looked in its days working for the Illinois Central Railroad, and also it is even used on the trains sometimes and people riding on board on it, and also is also seen being carried on the museum tracks as well. What you see right behind me is Nickelplate Road 1907. Nickelplate Road 1907 was built by Standard Steel Car Company in 1929 and is a flat car. This car was originally used as a flat car, and it was originally used on the Wheeling and Lake Erie Railroad as Wheeling and Lake Erie 1907, and would be used for carrying cargo such as like construction machines on wheels, pipes, steel, and all other types of cargo it once hauled many years ago. Then the railroad merged to the Nickelplate Road as Nickelplate Road 1907 and was used on freight trains for the Nickelplate Road as well. Then later on, this car came to be part of the Monticello Railway Museum in Monticello, Illinois, where it is today, and it was then converted to being an open-air car and used on the train when operating and people riding on it as well. What you see right behind me is Illinois Central 9831. Illinois Central 9831 was built by the Illinois Central Shops in 1941 and is a steel side door type caboose. Illinois Central 9831 was used in freight service on the Illinois Central Railroad on freight trains during the career of this caboose. Also, Illinois Central 9831 was used as the train crew's office, and the cupola would be for the crew to see the front of the train as well. Then, later on, Illinois Central 9831 then came to be part of the Monticello Railway Museum in Monticello, Illinois, and it is even used at the museum and carried on the museum tracks as it would be used on the freight trains that they put together as well, and even used for train rides at the museum as well. What you see right behind me is Illinois Central 7. Illinois Central 7 was built by Pullman in 1917 and is a business car. This car was originally numbered as Illinois Central 17 and was used on the back of passenger trains on the Illinois Central Railroad many years ago, and also it was used as an office observation and was even used for executives who worked for the railroad as well, and then later was renumbered as Illinois Central 7. Then later on, Illinois Central 7 was retired, and also it is privately owned, and it soon came to be part of the Monticello Railway Museum in Monticello, Illinois, where it is today, and also it is even used on the train sometimes and rolling on the museum tracks and people riding on it as well. What you see right behind me is Illinois Central 4112. Illinois Central 4112 was built by Pullman Standard in 1946 and is a dining car. This coach was originally used for the Chicago and Eastern Illinois Railroad as Chicago and Eastern Illinois 505 and was named Shakamark Inn and used on passenger trains for that railroad as well. Then was sold to the Illinois Central Railroad and renumbered as Illinois Central 4112 and also used on passenger trains for the Illinois Central, and also it would also be used for passengers eating on board at tables inside breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and was used with passenger cars painted in the same paint scheme when used on passenger trains on the railroads it was used on. Then, later on, Illinois Central 4112 was retired and put on display at the Louisiana Art and Science Museum in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Then was donated to the Monticello Railway Museum in Monticello, Illinois by the Southeast Louisiana chapter of National Railway Historical Society, and in 2007 came to the museum where it can be seen today, and also it is even used on the train sometimes and people riding on it as well. What you see right behind me is the John G. Shedd Aquarium Nautilus. The John G. Shedd Aquarium Nautilus coach was built by Pullman Standard in the 1950s and is an aquarium fish transporter car. Originally was a baggage lounge car and was originally used on the Chicago and Eastern Illinois Railroad as Chicago and Eastern Illinois 602 and named Turkey Run, and used on passenger trains for that railroad as well, where people would be in the lounge and like play cards and have something to drink and such as well. Then in 1957 was rebuilt to being an aquarium fish transporter car and was used by the John G. Shedd Aquarium of Chicago to transport marine specimens, and named
Nautilus.
as Nautilus II, and also used for transporting fish, and the fish tanks would be inside what used to be the baggage compartment as well, and could hold up to 3,000 specimens, and the tanks were loaded onto a barge, and the collections were made from the Atlantic Ocean, Gulf of Mexico, and the Pacific Ocean. Then in 1972, this car was retired, and in 1974 was donated to the Monticello Railway Museum in Monticello, Illinois, where it is today, and you can also visit the interior of the car as well.
What you see right behind me is Wabash 2824.
Wabash 2824 was built by the Wabash shops in Decatur, Illinois in 1949 and is a streamline style cupola caboose. Wabash 2824 was used many years ago on freight trains for the Wabash Railroad as the train crew's office whenever it was in service, and the cupola is known to be a streamlined style and a Wabash style streamlined cupola as well. Also, it was then, like later, used on the Norfolk and Western Railroad as Norfolk and Western 562 824. Also it was used on freight trains for the Norfolk and Western Railroad as the train crew's office, I believe. Then later on, this caboose came to be part of the Monticello Railway Museum in Monticello, Illinois, where it is today, and sometimes it is even used for train rides at the museum as well.
What you see right behind me is Illinois Terminal 806.
Illinois Terminal 806 was built by the Illinois Traction Company in 1924 and is a transfer caboose. This caboose was once used as a transfer caboose for the Illinois Terminal Railroad many years ago and used as a maintenance of way piece as well. Then later on, this caboose was retired and came to be part of the Monticello Railway Museum in Monticello, Illinois, where it is today, and sometimes it is carried on the museum tracks as well.
What you see right behind me is Illinois Central X1957.
Illinois Central X1957 was built by the Illinois Central Railroad somewhere like in the 1920s and is a tool car. Originally, this car was a box car and used on the Illinois Central Railroad and used on freight trains for many years. Then, this car was rebuilt to being a tool car and used in maintenance of way service for the Illinois Central Railroad. Then, later on, this car was retired and then came to be part of the Monticello Railway Museum in Monticello, Illinois, where it is today, and sometimes it is carried on the museum tracks as it would be used on the freight trains that they put together as well.
Okay, I'm going to show you the exhibits inside the baggage cars, and I'll get behind the camera and show you all around. So here we go.
Okay, so here we are entering through in the Delaware and Hudson car. Here's some tools right here. 401. I think that's donation box for make some project, I think. Here's some posters you might see. this is like a signal. Here's a model of a signal. Here's some wires and some more posters. Let me see. So you guys can take a look and see how it was like back in the day. Oh wow, these look pretty neat. There's the 576, which is at the Tennessee Central Railroad Museum in Nashville. And here's some more old streamline steam locomotives and some drum kits as well. And the other baggage car is the Nickelplate Road car, so gonna go across and through the Pleasant Valley coach and show more in the other one. Okay, so now that we've gone through, that's the train outside the Pleasant Valley car. Here are some lanterns. Here's the Nickelplate Road car. Pictures of the 191, the Wabash Streamliner, and the Canadian National. And here's some more lanterns down here. That was the name of the railroad here in the past. There's a velocipede right there, of course. And yeah, there's a casket right there. It's Raham. You could, if you want to read what that says, feel free to pause. And that one too. And yeah, there's some track tools as well. This is pretty interesting, isn't it?
What you see right behind me is Illinois Central 9926.
Illinois Central 9926 was built by the Illinois Central shops in 1941 and is a steel side door type caboose. Illinois Central 9926 was used in freight service on the Illinois Central Railroad on freight trains during the career of this caboose. Also, Illinois Central 9926 was used as the train crew's office, and the cupola would be for the crew to see the front of the train as well. Then, later on, Illinois Central 9926 then came to be part of the Monticello Railway Museum in Monticello, Illinois, and it is even used for train rides at the museum as well.
What you see right behind me is Wabash 82697.
Wabash 82697 was built by the Wabash shops in Decatur, Illinois in 1941 and is a boxcar. Wabash 82697 was used on freight trains in the past on the Wabash Railroad and carried cargo such as boxes and rolls of paper and other things that this boxcar may have hauled long ago when it was used in freight service. Then later Wabash 82697 was then retired and then came to be part of the Monticello Railway Museum in Monticello, Illinois, where it is today, and sometimes it is carried on the museum tracks as it would be used on the freight trains that they put together as well.
What you see right behind me is Lincoln Sand and Gravel 44.
Lincoln Sand and Gravel 44 was built by the Davenport Locomotive Works in Davenport, Iowa in 1940 and is a 44-ton center cab switcher type diesel locomotive. This locomotive was originally used for the Morel Meat Packing Company in Ottumwa, Iowa, and numbered as Morel Meat Packing Company 2301. Then it was sold to Lincoln Sand and Gravel in Lincoln, Illinois, and renumbered as Lincoln Sand and Gravel 44, and used for moving hopper cars as well. Then, in 1975, this locomotive was donated to the Monticello Railway Museum in Monticello, Illinois, and was used until the early 1990s and is seen on display as well. And also, you can ring the locomotive's bell also. And that's how it's done.
What you see right behind me is Republic Steel Corp 191.
Republic Steel Corp 191 was built by Alco in Schenectady, New York in 1916 and is the 559/95th steam locomotive built by that factory and is an 060 six-wheeler type steam locomotive. Originally, this locomotive was used for the Central Steel Company in Massillon, Ohio as Central Steel Company 3, and also for many years this locomotive spent its life working as a steelworks locomotive. Then later was Republic Steel Corp and renumbered as Republic Steel Corp 3. Then in 1940 was renumbered as Republic Steel Corp 191. Then in 1966 was sold to the dealer Preston Duffy and Son in Columbus, Ohio, and the locomotive was retired. Then in 1969 was sold to J. David Conrad in Columbus, Ohio. Then in October that year it was sold to the museum when it was called the Monticello and Sangamon Valley Railway Historical Society till Monticello Railway Museum. Also, it had been overhauled and it operated at the museum from 1972 till 1987 and then was put back in retirement and can be seen on display as well. And also, you could even visit the cab of the locomotive and even sit where the engineer and fireman used to sit as well.
What you see right behind me is Illinois Central 404.
Illinois Central 404 was built by Pullman in 1918 and is a baggage railway post office coach. Originally, this car was built as a passenger coach and originally numbered as Illinois Central 2225. Then it was rebuilt to a baggage RPO coach and was used for carrying baggage and mail on board many years ago when being used on the Illinois Central Railroad. Then later on, this car was retired and then came to be part of the Monticello Railway Museum in Monticello, Illinois, where it is today, and also you can even visit the interior of the car as well.
right behind me is the Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe Pleasant Valley coach.
The Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe Pleasant Valley coach was built by Pullman in 1942 and is a sleeper car. Also, the coach is named Pleasant Valley. This car is a 664 sleeper, meaning it has 6 open sections, 6 roomettes, and 4 bedrooms. This coach was used for when passengers would be spending the night on the train when going from place to place and had their own compartments to sleep in when this coach was used on the Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe Railroad. It was to be used for a joint venture between the New York Central and the Santa Fe Railroads. Also, it has masonite interior walls rather than steel. Then later on, this coach was retired and then came to be part of the Monticello Railway Museum in Monticello, Illinois, where it is today, and also you can even visit the interior of the car as well.
What you see right behind me is Delaware and Hudson 405.
Delaware and Hudson 405 was built by American Car and Foundry in St. Charles, Missouri in the 1900s and is a baggage car. This car was originally used on the Gulf Mobile and Ohio Railroad, then used on passenger trains for the Delaware and Hudson Railroad many years ago, and carried baggage and mail on board many years ago, and also was equipped to handle baggage, express mail merchandise, or similar products. Then later on, it was retired and then came to be part of the Monticello Railway Museum in Monticello, Illinois, where it is today. And also, you can even visit the interior of the car, and you'll also find there are exhibits inside it as well.
Well, I hope you all enjoyed learning about trains with me today in Matthew Lapp Train Guy segment show. Also, I hope to see you all again in the next segment. So this is Matthew Lapp, host of Matthew Lapp Train Guy segment show. Sign out until next time. All aboard.